Big Tractor Power has been busy following the 2018 corn harvest in western Kentucky during the month of August. And these videos always bring up a lot of questions at this time of year from Big Tractor Power viewers. Those questions include, why are they harvesting corn in the month of August? When was this corn being planted? Don't the corn plants look pretty green yet? What is the moisture level of the corn being harvested? Is this high moisture corn for cattle feed? And there are a lot of other questions that come up. And in this Big Tractor Power video, I'd like to answer all of those questions and talk about the cropping process in western Kentucky and why corn is harvested in the month of August. So I hope that you'll find this video informative and interesting, and you'll definitely see lots of big farm equipment harvesting corn. The corn being harvested in western Kentucky during the month of August is not high moisture corn for cattle feed. It is just regular corn that is harvested, and most of it is produced into ethanol, and some of it goes down to Nashville, Tennessee to be produced into Jack Daniel's whiskey. This corn is being harvested at 19% moisture, and it will continue to dry down throughout the harvesting season into early September to about 13% when the harvest wraps up. It's simply time to harvest the corn. Corn is usually raised on a 90 to 100 day basis, and corn planting starts in western Kentucky around mid-March. St. Patrick's Day on March 17th is usually a target date, and the corn will be going into the ground into early April. The earliest I've ever seen corn planted in western Kentucky is on February 29th. That was an extremely warm spring, but typically mid-March is that target date for planting. Western Kentucky sits right on the edge of the Midwest and the southern states. It borders Illinois, Indiana, and Missouri, as well as Tennessee. So this region benefits from large Midwestern row crop production size fields and also enjoys the southern climate to get the year started earlier in planting, which means an earlier harvest as well. In addition to the March planting time period for corn and the 90 to 100 day maturity rate, it's also important to harvest corn starting in August in western Kentucky because of the crop rotation. The corn acres in this region are followed by winter wheat. So as soon as the corn is harvested, the fields need to be prepared to seed the winter wheat. In other parts of the United States where frost is maybe a factor in killing the corn off and helping it dry down, farmers have the luxury of waiting for it to dry a little bit longer in the field so they don't have drying costs associated with the corn. And typically, once the corn is harvested in the northern regions of the United States, the year is done, or maybe some fall tillage takes place following the harvest. But in western Kentucky, the same people that are operating the combines and the grain carts have to turn around and operate the machines that fertilize the fields, disc up the ground, harrow it, and then run the seeders that put the winter wheat crop in the ground. So let's take a look at that process that takes place after the corn harvest in western Kentucky. In western Kentucky, after the corn is harvested, farms apply fertilizer and lime to add new nutrients to the soil and to balance the pH of the ground ahead of the winter wheat seeding. Following the fertilizer and lime application, the fields are disked. The heavy disc blades turn over the soil and cut up the stalks of corn. The stalks are very heavy and hard to break down, so burying them in the soil helps that decomposition start to take place. It also adds natural nutrients back into the soil, as well as incorporating the dry fertilizer and lime. The disking pass does a great job in sizing up the corn residue and turning over the soil, mixing that lime and fertilizer into the ground, but it leaves the surface of the field very rough. In order to prepare it completely for the seeding of the winter wheat, a harrow is taken across the field simply to smooth out the lumps and clods of dirt left by the disc. Once the harrow goes over, it's time to plant the seed. Here we can see a large 60-foot air drill planting the winter wheat crop into the ground following the corn harvest, the fertilizing, disking, and harrowing. In western Kentucky, wheat is planted after October 10th. There are concerns with flies that can damage the crop if it is planted any earlier than this date, and it takes all the time between the August corn harvest and the October 10th date to prepare the ground before it can be seeded. Farms like to work wide and fast when they're planting winter wheat in western Kentucky, typically using 40 and 60-foot wide air drills to wrap up the planting time in at least 10 days. The reason for this is that the fall time in the month of October can become very wet, and every day that is delayed in putting the seed in the ground can affect the yield of the crop. The winter wheat will be harvested typically starting around Memorial Day the following May and running into the month of June. Harvesting the corn in a timely manner impacts the entire crop rotation, with the winter wheat being seeded in October and then being harvested the next summer. As the wheat is harvested in western Kentucky starting at the end of May and going into the month of June, soybeans are double cropped right in behind the combines. Here we can see a combine harvesting wheat, and just a few passes behind it is the planter putting that new crop of soybeans in, allowing the fields in western Kentucky to yield 2 crops in 1 year, winter wheat and soybeans, and then corn will come right back onto this field the following year. Now that we've learned about why the crop rotation impacts the harvest time in August, let's talk about another key reason for harvesting the corn a little bit on the green side in western Kentucky. Tropical storms and hurricanes begin to form in the Atlantic Ocean, especially in the month of August and September, and those storms will track across Florida and Mississippi and Alabama many times, and western Kentucky is only 8 hours from the Gulf Coast in Alabama. Those storms, as they hit land, will break up, but they still bring a lot of heavy wind and rain, and it will track right into western Kentucky during the corn harvest season. And that wind and rain can really do some damage to the corn. Here we can see from the cab of a Claas Lexion 760 TT combine going across the field that was hit by hurricane weather. It really does a number on the corn, blowing it down flat or angling it, and that makes it very hard for the combines to pick up the corn, and a lot of corn can be lost due to the tough conditions of harvesting it. We can actually take a minute here and watch the Lexion combine try to pick up some of that corn that was blown down by the hurricane weather. I hope that you have found this video informative, and the next time you're watching a Big Tractor Power YouTube video featuring combines harvesting corn in August, and you notice that the corn looks a little green, you'll have a better understanding of the importance of the crop rotation with the winter wheat and the double crop soybeans, and why that corn needs to be harvested as quickly as possible. Also, as you saw in the end of the video, tropical storm and hurricane weather can really make the corn harvest a tough and a slow go. So it's important to get the crop off as quickly as possible. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, consider subscribing to Big Tractor Power YouTube, where there are over 1,000 videos of farm machines in action. If you're already a subscriber, thank you, and make sure to check the Big Tractor Power YouTube homepage often, as new videos are posted every 2 to 3 days. If you have any questions or other thoughts you'd like to share on this video, post them in the comment section below, as I try to answer every single question that is asked. Also, if you would like to get a preview of what's coming to the channel next, check out Big Tractor Power Instagram, where I share pictures and short video clips of what's currently being filmed. As always, thank you for watching.